Just 3 days ago, the country marked the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, one of the most tragic days in our country's history that forever changed the way we as Americans think and feel. The days after the attacks 2 decades ago, the nation came together, consoling and trying to heal together. As the months and years passed on, the divides in this country seemed to grow deeper and deeper than ever before. Hate and fear took over, eventually leading to the deadly attack on the Capitol on January 6th of this year. In a new book, Wildland, Evan Osnos takes these two important events in our history and uses them as bookends to show us just how we got here in this moment in our politics and our culture. Let's bring into our conversation Evan Osnos, staff writer for The New Yorker and author of the new book, Wildland, The Making of America's Fury. I have to say, I know that this book was so anticipated, and it lives up to all of the exceedingly high expectations people had for it. It's exquisite. I was going to go in order and respect you as a writer, but because of the news, I'm going to start with where you end, the insurrection. So accept my apologies, and we'll work backward from that. You write this: 5 years after the Trump era began, a physical assault on U.S. democracy felt both shocking and inevitable, a culmination of everything I'd come to understand about America's political crisis since I'd come to Washington in 2013. On the same grounds, 8 years earlier, tourists from Finland had asked me why the U.S. government had shut itself down, and I had no answer. In the years since, I'd watched Americans gravitate to a president who rejected the notion of a public good. They praised him to me while celebrating the sedition of the Confederate flag and sipping from a coffee cup adorned with a swastika. Others waved away those warnings from the gilded remove of the Gold Coast. The scene unfolding at the Capitol was like an inferno, powered by the cynicism, unreason, and deception in U.S. politics. So leave it to cable news to take, the build and the crescendo and start there. But it's such a perfect description of where we are.
No, you're right. Thanks. And Nicole, thanks for the kind words about it. Look, a friend said to me about the book after reading it, he said, it's an angrier book than I thought you were going to write. I said, if you're not angry, actually, then maybe we're not paying close attention. I mean, there was in so many ways, as I was standing at the foot of the Capitol that day, I was covering it for The New Yorker on January 6th, and I just had that overwhelming sensation of the path that had brought us there. And I had sort of been wandering along that path as a reporter for all those years. You referenced a line in there about somebody drinking out of a coffee cup with a swastika on it. That is a reference to the experience that really was the germ of the beginning of this book, which is that I watched the first Republican debate in 2015 at the home of some Trump supporters in Ohio. And one of them was drinking out of a coffee cup that had a swastika on the side. And that was the beginning where I said something really, really strange is going on in our politics. I need to understand how a guy like this, a white nationalist, had found himself cheering for somebody who was on his way to becoming the Republican nominee. And look, honestly, I did not expect Donald Trump to win the election. And I thought this was a book that still had to be written because we had to understand, in effect, the prehistory of Trump. That was sort of the missing link in the understanding if we were going to ever try to prevent ourselves from that kind of ordeal again.
I have the same experience. I go back to 2015, and it's something much closer to home for me in understanding the attraction to him. But I mean, what's so magical is the way you go back to these places. And I want to ask you about all of them, but I want to understand why you did that. Was it because they were places where you had a baseline and you could then report the Delta, how they'd changed? Explain your process.
Yeah, that's exactly it. As a reporter, I've sort of done the experience of going into a place for the first time, parachuting in, and you can make an earnest effort to try to capture a snapshot of the moment. You can talk to influential people in town. You can try to figure out what's happening. But what you really can't do if you haven't been there before is chart that delta over time. How did this place change? What's durable here? And what have we lost? And what have we acquired? And I said, if I'm going to do that, I have to go to places that I know. So I decided to go to 3 places where I've lived in my life. I went to, and they're very different places. And I went to Greenwich, Connecticut, which is a prosperous New York suburb where I grew up, very lucky to grow up there. And it was a way of understanding essentially the role of how the economy had changed. We can talk about it in more detail. And I went to Clarksburg, West Virginia, which is a small city in the northern part of the state. It was all Democrats when I moved there as a young journalist in 1999. And today, of course, West Virginia is dominated by conservative politics. And I went to Chicago, I'd worked at the Chicago Tribune for nearly a decade. And I said, if I want to understand the effects of segregation in America, you have to go to one of the cities that has one of the highest levels there are. And if you go to those you can begin to chart sort of three faces of this American experience of the last 20 years, which has been so different for different people.
So tell me about Fury and Chicago.
You know, interestingly, when I went to Chicago, I didn't know the story that I was going to find there. And it was sort of surprising. I mean, I ended up writing about somebody who had a man named Maurice Clark in particular, who kind of found me, actually. I was walking down the street. I was working on a story for the New Yorker. I was writing about a shrine at the side of the road where somebody had been killed. And he came up to me and he said, "Who do you work for?" I said, I work for the New Yorker. And he said, "Is that the one with the cartoons?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "I used to read that in prison." And
Wow.
we started talking, and it became this actually he was just extraordinarily generous with me over the next few years. I would visit him in Chicago, visit him eventually in Peoria where he lived. And what he helped me understand, most importantly, I think, Nicole, was the process of how his family lost their house during the subprime mortgage crisis, which is important to recognize because, after all, predominantly black neighborhoods were overwhelmingly hit in Chicago. And as he said to me, the financial crisis never ended in black neighborhoods. It's continuing. And it is just the devastating effects of the financial crisis, even a decade later, were really worth, I think, putting down on paper in very clear terms.